colleagues, dear friends of the EXtremeClimTwin project, thank you for joining us for this challenging 3 workshop day series, as we called it. This, instead of having one long day for a workshop, we decided to make it more user-friendly and time-friendly, and break it into 3 days with 2-hour sessions each day. Thank you for supporting the project this way, and thank you for joining us, and we hope for your active participation, because your opinion matters, and we would really love if you share your opinion on such a challenging and very interesting topic that these 3 days will cover. It's topic of internal communications around research on the institutional level and celebrating research success. So it's really a good question for all of us. How do we communicate about research? How do we set up internal processes for approving what our researchers do? How do we organize the peer review system in our institutions? Do we have peer review systems in place? I guess these are all very interesting and challenging questions, especially for the people, the researchers who work at Serbian universities. In my personal opinion, I think we lack the culture of internal communication around research and the peer review processes. And I really think that we can learn a lot by hearing what our colleagues from the Rothberg University have to share with us over the 3 workshop days. It's really great that many speakers from and colleagues from Rothberg universities will be able to join us for these 3 days. And I wish to especially thank to our colleagues Claire Edwards and Adam Wood, who are team members of EXtremeClimTwin project, for organizing the speakers from Rothberg University. They are all very interesting and very relevant for the topic, and I believe that we will all learn a lot and even better apply everything later on to our institutions. So the goal of this workshop is definitely to build the culture of research excellence, to support the researchers in their endeavors of doing high quality research, to make the overall research more impactful, to make our institutions and our researchers more visible, and to build and strengthen human capacities of people who actually support the researchers and internal research. We will have interesting topics and interesting speakers, and I will just go through some of the names and present today's speakers. It's our colleague Claire Edwards, who is Research Development Manager at Rothberg University, who is our partner in the project. It's Meg Cox, who is PR and Communications Officer and aspiring researcher herself, who actually hosts a very interesting podcast called Couple with Scientists, and she will tell something about her experiences today. We will have our dean, the Dean of the Faculty of Sciences, Professor Milica Papkov-Hrvojević, who will share the experiences of the Faculty of Sciences in this regard. So how do we internally communicate around research? What peer review processes we have? How do we celebrate success? We will have Professor Steve Rothberg, whom you might be familiar with, because he was a speaker in the first workshop we had, and he will again talk about Calibre framework, which is in place at the Rothberg University. So it's their own excellence supporting framework at Rothberg University. We will have Professor Stephen Rice, who will talk something about peer review system at Rothberg University. He's the School Associate Dean for Research at School of Social Sciences and Humanities. We will also have our colleague Adam Wood on the second day talking about peer review processes at place at Rothberg University. And we will have a pre-recorded session of Sam McGinty, who is Head of Legal Services, who will also share his views on internal approval processes in place at Rothberg University. Of course, our colleague Miroslav and I will be moderating the workshop. I will also be joining with speakers on the second and third day. So we believe there are many reasons for you to stay tuned and join us not only today, but also on the second and third day of the workshop. It is the same link to join us. The link is open. You can join anytime, dip in and out according to your free time and availability. And as I said, it's really important that you also participate by sharing your internal practices, proposing good practices, and giving your ideas on the topic. We will appreciate your active participation. Feel free to type your questions in the chat, or even better, use the Q&A session that we have at the very end of the working day, and ask your questions to our speakers, share your views and comment on this important topic. Without much further ado, I would really love to give the floor to Professor Biljana Basarin, who is the coordinator of the EXtremeClimTwin project, to say hi and welcome you to the workshop. Biljana, be kind to unmute, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Goga, very much for this nice introduction. I'm really happy and honored to have you all here in our workshop. This is the second workshop that is organized online due to this unfavorable COVID situation, and hopefully one day we will all meet in person and discuss things further and develop our ideas further. In my personal opinion, this internal communication is really, really important for us researchers, and we need help from our International Relations Office to guide us through the process of the internal communication and how to become better scientists and better researchers. In my personal experience, until now, we haven't been communicating much between the departments, but now, since this project started and since I read and heard a lot about internal communication, we managed, our EXtremeClimTwin team from the Department of Geography actually managed to find people who are dealing with the same topics from different departments. And now we are generating new ideas, new topics for the research, and we are actually really close to reproduce the methods and use the methods that have been published in high impact scientific publications like Nature and Science. So this is something that we actually didn't explore much before at our university. So we now have a good connections and good collaboration with the people from the Department of Physics, Mathematics, Biology. And this is something that we need to explore further, because being a scientist in one discipline is not good enough anymore. We have to go wide, and we have to go beyond our boundaries. And the only way that we can do it is actually to communicate with people who are close to us in our own institution, produce some really good and impactful results that will benefit not only us as a research group, but the institution as a whole. So I really encourage you to stay with us during this workshop so we can learn more about internal communication and apply the things that we hear in our own backyard, and successfully apply to new projects, or submit new research papers together, not as individuals, but as a research group from Faculty of Science, not individual departments. So thank you very much, and I hope that you will enjoy this workshop. I really enjoyed it while we were preparing it, and I'm really looking forward to hear everyone speaking about their topic. This will be really nice experience and really exciting 3 days. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Biljana. I have to say that before sending the invitations to all of you, I wanted to make sure that I really indeed understand what is meant by internal communication around research and celebrating success. And this is why I just copied Claire's kind answer to the invitation, because yes, it is really communications around success that individual academics have had, either within a department, but also more broadly within a faculty or wider university. This is the benefits of both increasing awareness about what research is being undertaken, but also recognizes smaller successes. So it's on both ends, knowing, approaching research in a strategic way, and celebrating success. Thank you, Claire, for clarifying this. I'm sure we all had a hint of the right meaning, but having a broader definition and understanding the whole process is indeed important. Now, I would really love to give the floor to you, Claire, so you can start your presentation on why internal communications about research are so important and why it is even more important maybe to celebrate these successes. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Right, let me just share my screen. Oh, hold on. Okay. Okay, can you see?
Yes, it's perfect.
Great. Okay, so Gordana very kindly explained what I mean by internal communications, and I think I've worked in a number of different universities and everybody does it differently, but people often forget how important it is to celebrate the things that have been done well, and make sure that people know about them. So I'm just going to talk about that a little bit and see what you think. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions or you have any thoughts or ideas. It's for your benefit, so please do that if you find that as we go through. Okay, so the first important question is why? Why do we need to do this? So there are a number of reasons. It boosts morale. So if you've achieved something, no matter how small it is, and it's recognised by your institution or your department or your faculty, it really boosts your morale because you feel like you've been recognised for what it is you've done, no matter how big or small it is. And I think it's really important, particularly for early career academics, when they're at their early stages, that they get this morale boost, because it's really tough being early career and getting your career off the ground, and having that recognition that you published a really good paper or you won a small research grant, whatever it might be, can really boost your morale and make you feel motivated about what it is you want to do. So the second one is about motivation. So if you know you're going to be recognised for what you've done, and you know that it's appreciated and that it's valued, it makes you much more likely to want to tell people about these things. So if you know you've won a grant and you want to shout about it, but you don't really know how, but now you've got a really clear route to tell people about it, it can be very motivating for people to know that they can do that. I've mentioned recognition before. Everybody loves a bit of that. Didn't this person do so well? They won this really big grant, and it makes them feel really proud about what they've done, and recognised for the hard work that they've put in, even if they weren't the lead person on that particular project. So maybe they, maybe they've just been a partner on it, or they're a co-investigator on a grant. It's still really important, and it recognises their role in what was done. These two kind of go together. So it supports the development of internal networks. So I'll show you an example later of how we do this at Loughborough. But if you find out about somebody else's research that you think is really interesting and you think you can contribute to, and you know about it because of internal communications that are in place, you can then get in touch with that person and start building your networks internally with other disciplines. As we talked about earlier, multidisciplinary research is kind of the way to go now. And one of the best ways to do that is by understanding what other research is going on in your organization. So it helps develop the internal networks that you need to take your research forward, or get yourself as a co-investigator or a partner on a grant application. Those kind of things I think are really important. And also it improves awareness of research across the organisation. So other people become more aware of what research is going on. So some people might work in student services or finance, and they're not really so aware of what research is going on at the university. But if you have really good internal communications and ways of celebrating the success, they become much more aware naturally of the types of research that are going on across the organisation, and that's really helpful just to improve knowledge overall. So I just wanted to ask as well, has anyone got any other thoughts about the types of benefits that might occur as a result of these types of things? Nobody has any. Okay, I clearly covered them all, so that's fine. Okay. So I found this really cool quote online, which I'll just leave up for you to read, but I just thought it was really, it kind of proved my point that it's by celebrating the small wins on a regular basis, it has a much bigger impact on people than waiting for that one massive thing to celebrate. It keeps everyone engaged, it keeps everyone working together, and it's about that path and journey that's making you feel good when you get to celebrate the smaller things. So it's not just about, oh, we won a £5 million grant. It's about some of the little things as well that come in. And I think it's really important to recognise those. So I'll just leave that up for a moment for you to give that a quick read. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about some ways you can have internal communications around research. So the first one I've put on here is seminars. So one of the things we do at Loughborough is individual departments, they put on regular seminars, maybe weekly or monthly or whatever they decide to do, where they have PhD students or academics talking about some research finding that they've had. And these are internal seminars, so they're only for kind of Loughborough staff, but they're promoted across the university sometimes, or across the school or the faculty, so that people that are interested can come along and find out about the research that was done and what was achieved and how, you know, the methodologies that were applied. And it's a really nice opportunity for networking and getting people talking about that particular research topic. Sometimes when we have seminars, we also do things like putting on tea and coffee afterwards, just to provide a really nice environment for people to have a conversation after the seminar, so that they can discuss what happened and what went on and how it applies to them. I've put emails on here. I hate emails. I get so many emails, but unfortunately it's one of the best ways we have to communicate. So one of the schools, in fact, the department I work with in geography, they have an email that comes out every Friday, and it's a good news email, and it's run by a research coordinator in the school. So everybody knows this email comes out on a Friday, and they email him with anything good that has happened that week or that month or whatever. And he then sends it out to everyone on a Friday. And it's really nice because it's can be anything from, we just won this massive project, to this PhD student just won a grant to go and travel to this conference, and that's really awesome for them. And or this paper just got published, or we've got a new partnership with this company or this organization. So it's got a really wide range of stuff in this email, and sometimes it's got one thing in it, sometimes it's got 3 or 4, but it's never hundreds and hundreds. But it's a really nice way for that department. It's quite a small department. I think there's maybe like 25 academics. So it's a really nice way for them to share what's going on in their worlds. And it includes the PhD students in that and the research associates that are working on projects. So it's just a really cool way to celebrate what's gone on, no matter what size it is, and just make sure that everyone knows what's going on. So I really like that email. I think it's really effective. The other thing is newsletters. So some departments and schools have newsletters that maybe come out once every 3 months, where they give updates of what's happened with PhD students. who's completed their PhD in that quarter, what grants have been awarded, what projects have started, all that kind of things included in there. It's a really nice document. They did used to print it off and do a hard copy of it, but now it's via email. So it's an electronic PDF that comes via email. But it's just nice to have a read through and go, oh, they've got some nice stuff going on, and everything's included in there. And it goes from all career stages, and there's acknowledgements for everyone that's contributed to the newsletter and that kind of thing. So it's pretty useful. And then the last one I've got at the bottom right, this is one thing I think Loughborough does really well. So that's our landing page on our website if you're an internal member of staff. And it opens up this web page, and it's just got a whole news section. And I just took a screenshot of whatever it was on the day that I developed this presentation. But if somebody has published a really good paper or won a really big research grant, whatever it might be, this goes on the main university news homepage, so that anyone internally who's a staff member will just see it. The minute they open the Internet Explorer browser, it's just there straight away. That's the first thing they see. And I think that works really well, because you just see it, it's just there all the time. So that's one thing we do at Loughborough that I really like. I've got some important points in a minute, but one of the other things we do is we have awards, which my colleague Professor Steve Rothberg is going to talk about later in terms of the Calibre Awards. We also have Enterprise Awards as well, and those are bigger recognition and celebration things that we have going on, but he's going to talk about that and explain how he came up with it, how it works, all that kind of thing. So hopefully that'll be interesting around the celebration aspect. And just some important points that I've come across when thinking about particularly the communications internally. The most important thing is it has to be done regularly. There's no point just doing it once a year, or like 1 month you do it and the next month you don't. It needs to be a regular thing. The reason that email in geography works really well is everybody knows it's every Friday. They know it's every week, so they know they can email the person that runs it whenever, and it will go into the next email, and that works really well. It shouldn't always be the same people that make it into being celebrated every time. It should be a range of people across the university, else people can end up a bit demotivated, and then you don't achieve what you were planning on doing in the first place. Really important to recognise some of those small wins. As I mentioned before, it keeps people really motivated, and it's just as good, but depending on their career stage, that they want a really small award compared to something particularly big. It's not all about funding and grants. Sometimes it's a new research collaboration, a way of working, a new methodology. It might be a paper that's been published in Nature, whatever it might be, that's a really big achievement, but it doesn't have a financial value associated with it. And it's really important to celebrate that too, because people have worked really hard to get that done. So that's one thing that I think. It has to work for your organisation and its culture, and you need to have a think what might work best for you and the way you operate. So for some places, actually a notice board in person is actually a really good way to do it. But if everyone's working from home or shut in their offices, they're not going to see it. So it's having a think about what works best for where you work and how it can be done most effectively. And finally, it needs buy-in from senior staff. So if you've got the support from senior staff, they're the people who can send these things out or recognise that people have done something really good. So it just needs their buy-in and their support for whatever it is you're doing to make sure that it runs effectively and has a purpose. So that's that. So that's my introduction. So hopefully that was a little bit useful. I will stop sharing my screen. And I've got a few minutes for any questions before my colleague. So actually, our colleague Dane is going to carry out the presentation rather than Meg today. She wasn't available, but I think he's here now. But we've got a few minutes for any questions before he presents.
Claire, if I understood you well, it's this email with recognizing smaller successes is only within the department, actually School of Geography, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think it will work on a bigger scale. Yeah. or somebody may get angry for seeing the same people all the time. And then, you know, there's...
Yeah, no, it just goes out to geography academics about geography people. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's a cool idea, but maybe within one chair or just section, department or something like that.
Yeah. So it's thinking about scale. What scale is right for what it is you want to achieve? Yeah, should it be just local in a department, or should it be bigger on a university scale? So yeah.
It's really a cool practice. Yeah, especially if it's embraced and welcomed among colleagues. Okay. Are there any comments, questions, ideas? Okay, our dean has a comment.
Not idea, but just a comment, because I really like this idea with email. And I just wrote on the piece of paper to think how to implement in our house. But I don't agree that it should be only locally at the department. I think we could do it on all 5 departments. It will also work in the other direction, to see what the other people work, what is their science, to connect maybe. I think it is really good idea, and I think it can work on the base of Faculty of Sciences, so on all 5 departments. But we can develop this idea and think how to implement.
And it might be you try something first and then you figure out actually that doesn't work very well, and you just change it as you go. So yeah.
Well, what we actually have in place already is the section on the website. It's institutional website with the achievements. So people who are interested really can go and check out what's going on in there and who the little stars of the day or the week are. And yeah, we somehow keep them informed, but yes, this via email could be more in-depth with more details around the good research that's been done.
I can share a version of it with you and you can see what it looks like. It's not very formal. It's just, here's the good news stories of this week. It's, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. If there are no further comments, then I would really like to welcome...
Maybe me,
yes,
something. There is one challenge. Some people are have jealous on other success. For example, now we finished our fund for science finished first step of review of proposals. And people, some people are very angry, or I don't how to express the feeling. They are not satisfied with their evaluation, and then it's a sensitive question to celebrate other colleagues who pass to a second step of evaluation. So in that situation, we must take care about how to share information about success of others.
Maybe it's only Serbian illness.
No, I think that the ego battles are everywhere, so it's not, we are not specific in that area. But yeah, this is something to be treated in a different institution other than academia, I guess. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Claire, for this ice-breaking session. Thank you. And I would now really love to say hi to Dane Vincent, who will be speaking to us on a great podcast because we heard something. We heard the one with Tom Matthews, who is our team member, and we really loved it. And it is a very nice way to celebrate successes, and it's actually maybe most user-friendly at this moment. So Dane, thank you very much for joining us, and we're eager to hear you. Please, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Would it be possible to get access to screen share, please?
Absolutely.
Yes,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Goga. To whom I should give the permission?
To Dane Vincent.
Here we go. Just a second.
Yeah.
Here we go. Dane, I just made you co-host.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You have to excuse me, it's just asking me to do some security permissions. So just bear with me 1 sec. Lovely MacBook, eh? So it's just taking its time. I'll just introduce myself while we're waiting. So my name's Dane Vincent. I'm the video journalist here at Loughborough University. So basically I'm responsible for video content, and this has expanded into podcasting as we've sort of expanded our sort of what we do as a department. This doesn't seem to be letting me in. I may have to do it without anything on screen, which would be a shame, but
if you can't get it to work, do you want to ping me over your slides, Dane, and I can put them up?
That'd be great, thank you.
Hey.
Great, great. You're all set. Perfect. Thanks.
Yep. Can everyone hear me okay and everything?
Yep. Yes.
Excellent. So, Couple of a Scientist. So this idea came, Couple of a Scientist in an overview is a podcast, basically just having chats with the academics here at Loughborough University with a science specialist. Basically, Meg, who's the host, you would have seen her. She came up with the idea when she went to back to university to study a degree in biology. She was using multiple methods of research to find it, and one of them that she found particularly useful was podcasts, but she found herself kind of going everywhere, various different places to listen to interviews with scientists and hear about their tales and how they got into things. So when we were tasked with coming up with more podcasts for the university, Meg put forward that we should do one that interview scientists and about their career and just what they do and their research. And we thought this was a great idea because it ticks so many boxes for us as a university in terms of recruitment, but also there's other elements we can tie in as well. So with Meg here, obviously, she said, we hope this podcast will dispel the myth that all scientists wear white lab coats and give you an insight into how vast the world of science really is. And I think it's exactly what we've done with the show, really. We make it fun. We basically interview the scientists about various things, not just science, but their life as well. And it helps just break down those barriers that you typically get with traditional promotional materials that we tend to put out in expressing people's stories and why they should be a scientist or why they should come to university, etc. So in terms of the podcast, it just ticked all the boxes. So we could provide students with information about courses or the different specialists in sciences. We showcased experiences that the scientists have had, not just in their career now, but in the past as well, studying and their backgrounds. It also, because we give an insight into what they do, it's inspiration for careers. Someone who's a bit undecided about what they want to do at university, perhaps, whether they're thinking about science but not sure where to go. These kind of things have kind of given a snapshot of what these different kinds of scientists do. We've had scientists ranging from climate scientists like Tom Matthews, who you saw. We've had gender scientists and much more social sciences in terms of how people speak and analysing that. And there's such a wide range to it, and just, I don't know, like Meg said, just old white men in lab coats. Within this, obviously, we're a PR department, so we try and showcase the research as well. So we tap into that and make sure that we are hitting what are our key goals as a department in terms of obtaining PR reach and getting ourselves into news items, etc. But I'll go into that a little bit more later. And we've, like I say, we've showcased a wide range of scientists, and we've been able to break down the sort of barriers of storytelling that you tend to get with a sit-down interview that goes, this is science, this is what I do. It can be quite bland, really, but we do this in a multitude of ways. So in terms of designing the show, one of the things that I'll probably jump to straight away is the fun and regular features that we see at the bottom middle. We like the idea of interviewing scientists, but we thought, how can we make it a bit more accessible to a younger audience, someone who would want to continue listening? So we decided to set up a few fun categories that go throughout the show, such as what is the weirdest thing you've done as a scientist. There's been some topics there that we haven't expected, some of them that are potentially not safe for work, so we've got to make decisions on whether we include some of those, but we tend to include them and give them a heads up. But there's some funny moments in there, and things like, because we called it Cup of a Scientist, we originally went with, we were thinking, what could we do? Like, you could have a pint of a scientist, and we thought, let's take it to cuppa. And we say things like, why have you chosen this mug? And then we get them to bring an artifact as well, which again, it's like an icebreaker for them, and we find that it helps them relax into the storytelling, and then they're a bit more laid back when they go into the other stories. And with the branding, we requested that our design team, who we incorporated to give us the look and feel of the show, that we went as far away from the corporate branding as possible. So the rounded font, the alternative, the cup and the tea, it's not something that the university typically does, but we pushed it as far as we could just to get away from that corporate feel that we wanted, because we knew what our defined audience was, and that was students. And in terms of those that were looking to what they wanted to do with their career, but also this also appealed to academics as well, because they heard about the tales of their colleagues and things that they could relate to. We try to keep it as informational and newsworthy as possible. So like I say, we go through those topics that the academic's career, etc. And when we go into the research, we get those newsworthy elements. And Meg, quite a very key pillar in this whole show. Obviously, she is very relatable to the core audience. Wasn't sure what she wanted to do. Had a career choice when she was younger, where she could either be a journalist or a scientist, and she went down the journalist route. And now she's kind of thinking she maybe should have gone with the science side of things, and she's just exploring that, and her passion for that really shines through in the show. And the fact that she's there in every show is quite key as well, because it's a regular voice and people can identify with her in each of the shows, and it increases the chances that people will come back. And one of the other things that we really go for with a lot of our content is evergreen content. This is because we can push it out to students this year, but it could also be used year after year after year, and there's no time. It doesn't go out of date. So by having that, the social team, for them, we give them social teasers, and they can roll those out every year if they like. And it's something we've done with previous podcasts. For example, we did one on the clearing process with students getting into university when their results may not have gone the way they've wanted, and they've had to apply on the day and sort their university place on the day. We've had content that's evergreen, timeless, that they've been able to access each year, and we can syndicate that out every year, so that there's a tool for students that can access where we don't have to do the work every single year. So here are some of the examples. You've got Tom with his ice pick on when he went up to Everest. You've got Liz Stokoe, who's the conversation analyst. She appeared at a festival, a music festival, speaking. And then you've got James at the bottom, Psychology of Aging. He's just explaining there to us why he chose his mug, and he went on to a nice long story about his mug for us there. But yeah, they're just some of the bits that break down the show. In terms of promoting the show, so we like to get it out there as many places as possible. We're not bothered where the views or listens come from. We just try and get it out as many places as possible. But obviously, we spoke about the the need for newsworthiness. So we distribute press releases and we try and find a news hook in each show. A key thing to this is timing the show. So for example, with around the Friends reunion, we knew we had Liz Stokoe, a conversation analyst. And one of the things she mentioned was that she used Friends, the show, to break down conversation. So we held that show back and we timed it with the Friends reunion, and we were able to sell it into the conversation. So not only was she going on talking about her career, etc., she was able to give us a nice news hook that led to some nice coverage that was republished in a lot of mainstream publications. Like I said, we're not too fussy where the views or listens come from. We appreciate that people have different methods of consuming their podcasts. Typically, it used to be audio, but we've expanded this into video, which not only helps convey that body language with people working from home more. We thought that it would be good. There's been a shift in the way that people have consumed their podcasts. Rather, personally, I used to listen to them in my car. Now I watch them in the background while I'm at home or wherever. So we made sure we tick those boxes, and we have views coming from the audio and the video side of things. And for our social team, we create the social media teasers. These are 1 to 2 minute clips of the show. We tend to do 2 or 3 for each one. They syndicate them to Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and use whichever one they feel is fitting for each platform. And we found that we get a lot of views from there, and each of those pushes back to the main show. So it's a really good way of breaking down the show into short, sharp bites, and helps people to just consume the show and decide whether they want to go on and listen to that. Guest advocacy. So with each guest, we ask that they share that they've been on the show, whether it's on their Twitter, their LinkedIn, and it just helps add a new audience and help round it, because people are interested in them. They follow them for a reason. So we try and ensure that we get the views from them and maximize their reach as well. And we have colleagues. So as a team, we syndicate it around internally, and we say, can you share this message? We'll do pre-written messages, and we say, use this if you like. If not, you can create your own views of the show or whatever. And we also make sure that it's embedded on school websites, and that they're sharing it as well, relevant to the scientists that we've been interviewing. And obviously, with a result of things like the Friends piece, you get external media interviews, and we're always trying to promote our academics externally, so that we can then raise awareness through that as well. Meg's been on a few interviews as well when we were initially promoting the show, and that's been really good in terms of getting eyes and ears on the show. So these figures are from June. So at that point, we sort of 4 episodes in. So we generated around 35k views and listens, and 9,000 on average. And then that probably doesn't add up. It might have been including teasers there as well. And then 160k social reach from the teasers and social posts. And you can see some of the places where we've appeared on with interviews, and some of the social media and newsworthiness as well. And you can see that there's local media, national media, worldwide media, and specialist media as well, which has been really useful for us in terms of highlighting that the show's been successful. Okay, so here's another example of how the show's been successful. We've had communication from parents. The top one is an email. She's got a daughter who's at year 6 at school, and they've been watching and listening to the podcast. She really wants to be a scientist, and she got in touch and asked some questions. And that's a line that we're going to promote the show moving forward. We're going to have questions coming in as well that scientists can answer, and Meg where necessary. But it was good to see that the show was reaching the right people and really making an impact. And you can see that bottom left, Dr. Elizabeth Gadd, she's a regular listener or viewer of the show, and she said that sharing how much she liked it, and then examples of the advocacy are bottom middle and bottom right, where the academics have been promoting the show just to spread the word. You don't know who internally might see those, and it just helps people get eyes on it. I know personally some internal stuff I miss because I don't always check internal news, but then you'll see something on your timeline, and I think it's just a good way of making sure things don't slip through the net. Okay, so how we did the show. So it was as simple as we're in lockdown. So we thought that we need to do this remotely. So we set up a Zoom Premium account. We bought a Yeti mic, which is at Meg's house. And then we basically started putting the episodes onto YouTube and Buzzsprout. It was basically as simple as that. You obviously need the recording equipment, recording editing software. So for this, we use Adobe Premiere Pro because we do a video show primarily, and then I export that as audio as well. But if you were just doing an audio only show, you could use something like this free content like Audacity, or you can use one of the Adobe Suite tools as well. But there are multiple podcast platforms that you can use. We just chose Buzzsprout. That seemed the best one for us. And we've had multiple shows on there, which I'll go into later. We also, you get the option of embedding it onto various platforms, podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and it goes on. There's new ones all the time. There's a couple more that when I checked in this morning, there's a couple we can add on. Some are restricted behind paywall where you maybe, depending on the audience potential, you decide on. But as you see on the left-hand side, we've got podcasts and a couple of scientists, and it's nice sometimes that I can just to check stuff, I can bring it up on my Alexa as well, which is really cool. These are a couple of the other shows we've done. Experts in Sport, that's a sport-based podcast around physicians, etc. We use a lot of Loughborough University-based academics. We interview them about their research again. It's very, and we bring in external bodies as well, and we tie it into news. For example, we did a series within this podcast called a Tokyo Talk, which we did a series of video interviews, and we tied it into our overall Olympic campaign, showcasing not only the athletes we have at the university, but the expertise in sport we have as well, hence the name of the podcast. And that's been really successful. I think that's our highest viewed podcast at the moment. That really hits on the internal videos as well, with a lot of people in the sports field, students, staff, and we've kind of built up a bit of a network with students getting involved in helping us deliver the show as well. That is an audio only show at the moment, but it may move to video based. And School of Poetry, when we were saying we needed gaps in the one of the things is ensuring there's a gap in the market, and one of the things that we found with our podcast was that there was not really many poetry podcasts. So we've got some really good academics. Oliver Turl, the host, has got a really good audience. So we thought, let's tap into that audience. Let's deliver a podcast. And it's just a cool way to bring in the fun side of things. And again, we're tying into those fun elements like we bring in a really bad poem and they dissect it. And those bits make really good social teasers and draw people to the full show. So what's next for Couple of a Scientist? We're looking, because it's been so successful, we're looking at where else we can tie this in at university, and we're looking at Couple of an Engineer, Couple of an Artist, and things along that line. We've still got legs with the science side of things, but once we've maximized that, we're going to transition into the other elements as well, and really broaden the amount of academics that we can highlight and showcase, not only externally, but internally as well, and really give us those recruitment tools as well as the newsworthiness. And as a result of all these podcasts, we've started to get more requests. So now we have a form that people fill out, and because we have to bat off a few requests, because some people see they want a podcast and there's not always a reason for it, if you know what I'm saying. That it could be that there's just not a topic, or there's an oversaturated audience. So we quiz people. We say, would you want to do this? We almost scare them in places where we say, this is what work is going to be required, because we can't do all of the work ourselves. With Megs, we do, and a couple of them with the poetry one, but with the sport, there's so many podcasts that we incorporated the sport department. We rely on them to host and edit the shows, and we're responsible for the syndication of the shows, generating those press releases, social teasers, and distributing to the media to make sure that we maximize the PR value of it. But yeah, that's pretty much Cuppa with a Scientist and a couple of our other shows. If anyone has any questions about what they'd like to know about the show, or delivering a show, or how this applies to transitioning into an internal audience, you tell me. It's entirely up to you if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Dane. It's a brilliant thing that you're doing. We love it.
That's great.
I think we have a question. Alexander, please unmute yourself and go
yes,
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First, I want to say special thanks to the host and presenters. It is really important and valuable workshop, and I'm glad because I'm here among you. And one question to Winston, excellent presentation, but did you get some statistic Or, for example, how many visitors do you have a month on your podcast?
In terms of the viewers and listeners?
The listeners and viewers also together.
Yeah, so we're averaging around 9,000 a show. That's across social media elements, inclusive of that, across the podcast audio and the YouTube views. Yeah, so totaled, yes. That's 9K per episode.
Yes, this is very interesting. I think this is the huge number. Thank you so much.
It's the case of, because we're not fussy where the views come from or listens, we hammer it in we maximize the amount of places we can put this show. One of the key things as well is embedding on external websites where possible, where when we encourage them to go, can you drop this onto your website, then you see the views shoot up. For example, with our video content, that's been very successful as well.
Suppose that you tried to extend your thank you so much. I suppose that you can try to extend your network in future.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen videos go from the hundreds. I'm just talking, for example, our Tokyo campaign. We do interviews of all the athletes. We syndicate them to external media. For example, we had an Adam Peaty video, a couple of thousand videos, the swimmer Adam Peaty. We got it onto SwimSwam, which is a popular swimming website. All of a sudden, all their viewers are hitting it, and you're in the hundreds of thousands. It's just like a way of getting the viral tactics in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you once again.
Thank you again. And if there are no more questions, I would really love to thank Dane for his time. Thank you, and good luck with your podcast in the future. We love it. We'll follow it. You have some new fans here in Serbia. Thank you. It is really a pleasure now to give the floor to the Dean of the Faculty of Sciences, Professor Milica Balkan-Krvojević, who will gladly present what's the state of the art in the respect of internal communications at the Faculty of Sciences. Professor Milica, the floor is yours. Please join us.
Thank you, Goga. I really want to say that I'm really pleased to take part in this workshop. And when I say this, I mean it. I mean, it is not just a polite phrase, because I really like to emphasize how important this, extremely important, this twinning project is for us, because it teaches us new insights into best practices and where to go, directions to go. I would just ask Goga or Micha to put my presentation. I wanted to avoid this with, okay. So the other side, the next slide.
Here.
So this picture shows the building where I would say half of us is at the moment. This imposant blue building, which is central place in the campus of University of Novi Sad, which is situated next to the Dono. And I really hope we will meet all together after this pandemic situation here in this building. So the topic of internal communication around research is rather new. I would say not only to the Faculty of Sciences, University of Novi Sad, but to the most of the research community in Serbia. Next slide, please. So who we are member faculty of 14 faculties at the University of Novi Sad. 2 years ago, we celebrated half a century of existing. We are doing research in fundamental sciences, biology, ecology, chemistry, biochemistry, environmental protection, mathematics, informatics, physics, geography, and tourism, which is organized in 5 departments, and what obviously opens immense possibilities to develop interdisciplinary research, great potential, which, in my opinion, is not used adequately. There are some good signs considering education programs. We accredited 2 years ago geoinformatics, and we are in the process of accreditation of bioinformatics, hoping it will open new research direction as well. But what makes Faculty of Sciences are, of course, people, around 7,000 people, 6,000 students, 615 employees, from which 450 researchers. And what we are very proud of are, of course, young, talented people We have over 300 PhD students. I don't have exact number for this year, but I think it is even more close to 350 PhD students. Next slide, please. We believe we do good science. Why I say we believe? Because unfortunately, it doesn't exist national framework for internal ranking of Serbian higher education institutions. So it is quite difficult to recognize yourself at the map, HE map in Serbia. But we have indicators that we are good. We are researchers from the Faculty of Sciences are the most cited scientists at the University of Novi Sad. The Secretary of Province for Science in Vojvodina, they do ranking of citation of scientists, let's say 1 per 10 years. And in every rank, from 10, there were 8 from the Faculty of Sciences. Top 10, 8 were from the Faculty of Sciences. We publish 300 peer-reviewed papers per year. And what is maybe the problem is that maybe it's good, but on one hand, but on the other hand, it's a problem because we are forced to compare ourselves with EU universities and with world universities. Why I said it is good, because then we have higher goals. On the other hand, it could be for major part of researcher community also unmotivating, since they are trying hard, but because of the limitations, some of the limitations Republic of Serbia is putting constraints, they cannot achieve the same results. So we do good science, but we have to do to make this good science impactful. We miss more internal research communication in directed research. What we've done in 2016 is that we've founded Faculty Scientific Council, which should do strategic planning of research, but it's not gained momentum yet, which does not mean that we shall stop engaging this council in the future. We have, for example, in this council, academics from the Academy of Art and Science. So in this council are the most cited, the best scientists and most influential scientists at the faculty. Next slide, please. After we have done an institutional SWOT analysis, we focused on capitalizing our strengths and mitigating our weakness. And definitely our centers of excellence are among the most important strengths where we show that we have already critical mass of expertise and facilities. We have the first center of excellence in Republic of Serbia, accredited in 2008, Center for Mathematical Research of Nonlinear Phenomena, and the younger one, Center of Excellence for Reproductive Endocrinology and Signaling, accredited in 2018. It is very difficult to get accreditation for Center of Excellence in Serbia, and the numbers corroborate this, since there are altogether 3 at the University of Novi Sad, obviously 2 of them at the Faculty of Sciences. Next slide, please. So as I said, Faculty of Sciences is committed to research in fundamental sciences, but also to unlocking an inter and multidisciplinary fields. This could be fantastic base for different research directions, which will be up to date to next decades, like biomedicine, new materials and nanoscience, environmental protection and climate change, information and communication technologies. To achieve this goal, obviously, we have to intensify collaboration between scientists involved in more fundamental research and staff involved in more applied research. So we are fully conscious of our strengths, and we would like to integrate excellence of all 5 departments and to streamline research efforts. Again, one good example, we had one Erasmus Plus project from Key Action 2, so it is improving infrastructure in higher education. RTREM was abbreviation, where we used our expertise and research excellence together with medicine to help the institutions from the region, higher educational institutions, to establish the educational program in reproductive biology. Next slide, please. The awareness of importance of internationalization is obvious, since it was the part of all my strategies, especially internationalization of research. So we are ready to learn from the others, and we want to change our practice. So we are ready to apply American Council of Education model for comprehensive internationalization. Why this? Because our head of International Relations Office, Gordana Vlahovic, as a Fulbright scholar, had a chance to work closer with ACE model and gain new insights to implement, which we find feasible and, of course, applicable to us. Next slide, please. When it comes to celebrating success, we introduced some awards. One is Best Young Scientists, established in 2016. The other one is award for major financial contribution achieved through international collaboration. The other was established in 2018 with the goal to encourage applications for international projects. And this guy here on the picture down is Dusan Jakovetic. He is from Department of Mathematics and Informatics. He is gaining this award for the third time because he's at the moment leader of our part on 5 Horizon 2020 projects. He's really fantastic, and obviously this is the reason why his financial contribution is really high for years. Next slide, please. Of course, sorry, I would just like to add, Micho, could you please, I would just like to add, there are some examples on department also. For example, Department of Biology and Ecology, they reward for publishing papers in journals with high impact factor, what will be difficult on the level of the faculty. But I would like to add what we are planning. So celebrating success is not enough, as this slide said. I would like to make PhD scholarships, which will show commitment to an outstanding doctoral student, something like doctoral college in Calibre scheme. But for this, we need our own financial resources. So we are financed from the budget, and we need to take some part of our financial resources, what is not easy, since basically most of them, it is 30% of the whole budget of Faculty of Sciences, most of them are purposefully defined. So we are thinking how to realize this. Next slide, please. So we are exploring new areas and translating expertise into new application areas. The good example is field of artificial intelligence. We won at the competition of the Ministry of Education, Science and Technological Development new master program, which we started from the 1st of October. And also we were awarded at the competition of Science Fund of Republic of Serbia by the scientific project in the field of artificial intelligence. So obviously the great potential of the Faculty of Sciences would be the application of computer sciences and data science, which is developed at Department of Mathematics and Informatics, to different disciplines developed on the other departments. For achieving this goal, we need more competent people. And again, we have constrained that the Republic of Serbia is not employing new people above the maximum number, what is for Faculty of Sciences 615. Next slide, please. What are our opportunities? One, which I see that it can join all departments of Faculty of Sciences, is digitalization in the field of environmental protection, above all through methods of processing and big data analysis, which enable innovation approach to modeling and simulations with the final goal of development of more efficient method in the field of environmental protection. I forgot to say that we have Master of Science in Applied Mathematics, which is part of European Consortium of Mathematics in Industry, and our faculty is educational hub for this ECME. And also a few years ago, we accredited first Master of Sciences in Applied Mathematics, Data Science. We accredited in English this program with the modules Data Analytics and High Performance Computing. Next slide, please. One weakness, but which we can see also as opportunity, is Technology Transfer Office. As you could notice up to now, we have fantastic international relation office with a fantastic head of the relation and member, Ivana. But, and the results are obvious. At the moment, we have 11 Horizon 2020. We have many IPA projects, cost actions. We had Scopus projects in past. But definitely what we miss is Technology Transfer Office, which could create strong relations between technology, research, practice, and entrepreneurship, and which could also cover IP issues and open access issues, because in last 2 years we got projects, innovation projects funded by Fund of Innovation of Republic of Serbia and also some European funds. But then we faced the fact that we really need to learn about intellectual property issues. Not only we, I think the whole research community in Serbia. Next slide. So again, thanks. I want to say that thanks to Project EXtremeClimTwin, we are learning from others, and Calibre framework is very new and important concept for us, which we would like to integrate in our strategy for the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dean. It was an inspiring talk and good to know that we recognize our weaknesses, which we can turn into strengths. I thank you very much for your time and presentation, and I will kindly ask everyone to leave the questions for the very ending so that we can move on now and say good morning and hello to Professor Steve Rothberg. Hello, Steve. Thank you again for being with us. We really enjoyed your first presentation during the first workshop, and it's good to have you back. As you've heard, the Calibre framework is really inspiring for us here, and there will be many questions for you, I hope, in the future as well. I think that Miroslav gave you co-hosting options so that you can share your screen. And without much further ado, welcome, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordana. Let me just share. How does that look? Is that sharing now?
Perfect, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. It's nice to be back with you again. I'm asked to give you 10 minutes or so on internal promotion of research and celebrating success. So let me see what I can do. Though it was helpful for me just to listen to the last 10 minutes of the previous presentation, because I think some of the things you talked about there were a little bit broader than what I was going to say to you. So I've quickly added a few extra bits onto my slide to just to mention that, but I'm happy to take any questions, whatever they might be at the end of it all. I don't want to repeat things that I said to you last time, but I did introduce myself when I spoke to you the first time. And I wanted to do that again because I'm sure there are people who weren't here last time, but I wanted to do it for a different reason, and that is I wanted to just say a few words about the journey that my university is on. So as far as research is concerned, so when I was appointed in 1990 to join the university, that was a moment in time when the university was in the process of converting itself from a university that had a great reputation for its taught programs, but did very little in research. And the Vice Chancellor, the leader of the university at the time, he said that we will become a research intensive university, and we began to invest in new staff, not just younger staff, as I was at the time, but also some experienced staff, and we would have a much clearer remit, all of the academic staff, for delivering research alongside of our teaching activity. And so that's the privilege I have had in my time at Loughborough, is to be part of that journey from that decision that was taken at the end of the 80s through to 30 years later now, where we are now recognised in the UK as a research intensive university. But our research, I would say that our research journey is not complete. A very important part of that journey to where we were recognised in the UK as a research intensive university took 20 years. So through the times when I was head of school, through the time when I was Dean of Engineering, we generally look at our progress against our national research assessment exercises. And it was in the research assessment exercise of 2008 where we felt that we had really reached a significant milestone on our research journey. And then, of course, the task becomes, once you've reached into that kind of leading group in the UK, is to stay there in a very competitive research environment, including a very competitive funding environment. And so now we're playing a different game, but still a game that is quite hard for us to play. So it's a 20-year journey to even kind of get into the game, and now we've been working for a decade to try and stay there, and that still feels like hard work for us, and I think that's important context. I talked to you last time about Calibre Framework. You said some very kind things about Calibre Framework, and if you think that these sorts of ideas can help you, that's great. I won't go through it all in great detail again, because we did that last time. But these were the things that I was thinking when I was just listening to the last 10 minutes of your presentation, because there are certainly parts of the Calibre Framework that are about inspiring new projects in our current research areas. That's particularly around our beacons and our global challenges. But there are also other parts of the Calibre Framework which are about inspiring new research areas. So programs like Ambition, Adventure, the collaborations that we do through Here to Stay and the Institute of Advanced Studies, they're very much about either translating what we currently do into a new area or building up a new area. Whether we're inspiring new projects or inspiring new research areas, I heard a mention of the funding of PhD students, and we fund a lot of PhD students. In fact, we've reduced this slightly in the last few years because of economic pressures, but we still fund about 110 PhD students each year from our own resources, and that's about 1/3 of our intake, to give you a measure of how much that is. And we also have modest CCON funding in Calibre to get people talking and meeting and so on. But primarily in Calibre, what we're trying to do is to provide people with support, and that's primarily support of people like Claire rather than financial support, providing people with the support to go out and pursue external funding. We're fortunate in the UK that we have a good national funding system. And in the good old days, of course, we were also able to access EU funding, and we hope to be able to continue to do that, though the precise circumstances at the moment are not 100% clear to us, but we're certainly working on the basis that we'll still be able to participate in those schemes. So I was asked to talk about Calibre Awards particularly, and let me do that now for a moment. But before I do that, I want to make the point that I think it's really important just to normalize the celebration of research. So what I'm about to talk about in the next few slides is not about inspiring new projects or new areas. when we're celebrating research, we're talking about the work that we're doing or that we've done, and we want to make the most of those achievements. So the image on the left is on our campus here in Loughborough, and we have these street lights around our campus. And the street lights we use to put banners up to celebrate all sorts of different things about what we do. But I think it's really important that anybody who's part of the university community sees just a very, very routine, low-level celebration of what we do in our research just all the time. Our Vice-Chancellor does a newsletter once a month, and the opening of the Vice-Chancellor's newsletter begins with the research story of the month. When the newsletter opens with that, it's not an exceptional event. It's just normal to see the first thing that the Vice-Chancellor talks about being some kind of celebration of research. This year has been a very significant one for all UK universities, because we have made the submission to our national research assessment exercise called the Research Excellence Framework. It's a very important assessment, not just from the point of view of prestige, but from the point of view of income. So an exercise like this is worth to a university like Loughborough about £20 million a year. So that's plenty of motivation to take it seriously. For other bigger institutions in the UK, it can be worth more than £100 million a year. So this is a very serious bit of our research funding landscape. About 150 colleagues at the university work exceptionally hard to deliver our research assessment, research excellence framework submission. And there comes a moment in the cycle where you quite literally press the button to submit. And of course, that's something that you can do in the comfort of your own office in private, or you can turn it into a party. This was one of those situations where, with having so many people working online, it was really easy to turn it into a party. So we turned it into a party, and we had about, I don't know how many colleagues are on here, it says plus 46 in the bottom of here. So I think then you add on all the rest of these people here. But we had 60 or 70, about half of the people who'd been working on the project, just come and join us for the few moments where I press this button here, the one that says declare and submit. And we had a lot of fun just for 10 minutes doing that. But that was part, it felt like an appropriate part of the culture of how we enjoy the research that we do, and celebrate when we can. But we do also have these specific awards that we call the Calibre Awards that we've been running for a few years now. So we started with a call that was, well, I described it as open, but actually it was aligned with our beacons and challenges. But it was more open than the calls we've run since. And since then, we've run themed calls, one on open research, one on equality, diversity and inclusion, and another on international partnerships. We use the shortlisted entries as case studies for marketing purposes. We put them on our internet so that others can find that information, and it's there enduringly. But I thought I'd just end by sharing with you what I see as the motivations for running these awards. It's really about us as a whole university community just being proud of the research that goes on across all disciplines. Even now that we are very active in research, you will still hear people say, I don't know what research happens in another department at the university. Sometimes even I don't know what research happens in another part of my own department. And so I wanted to get people just talking about the research that was going on. There's so much excellent research that goes on. I just wanted to see if I could find a way several times a year to get people talking about 10 different areas of research that they don't come into contact with in their normal daily lives. Sometimes, as I said, we do it with an open call. Sometimes we have some themes. I don't think it really matters. We recognise research teams. That's quite an emphasis in the submissions that we seek. The team-based approach to research is one that we think is a very important part of research culture. The whole thing is done with minimal process, and that was really important. I didn't want to have to employ people to have a whole job being about running these awards. The spirit of it all is very much that everyone is a winner. We shortlist a lot of awards because the idea is simply to celebrate the diversity of the research that goes on. And this is important too. There is absolutely no cash changing hands or other material incentive associated with this award. It's all about the recognition and all about getting people talking. So we decide on our, while everybody is a winner, we decide on the winner of the winners in the same kind of manner as the Eurovision Song Contest. As I'm sure some of your audience will know, this is a contest that the UK does spectacularly badly in every year now. But we still use that mechanism to decide on our winner. It is unashamedly unscientific, and I'm perfectly happy about that. The public vote encourages greater engagement. That's the point of the awards. People will tell me that they've managed to vote 6 times on all the devices that they have in their home. I'm absolutely happy with that. If people are telling their colleagues they voted 6 times, then they're talking about research. And that's the point of the whole exercise. So I live with, for the sake of minimal process and for the sake of as many people as possible talking about research that happens at the university, I'm very happy to live with these imperfections in the process that we have. And I'll stop there, Gordana, and hand back to you.
Great, thank you so much. As I said, Calibre and the whole story with the Loughborough University is an inspiration to us. And thank you so much for the insights. I think that we are somehow ready to make that major shift, like you said, to move from more and more and move from good to great. By recognizing our weaknesses and turning them into strengths, I think we're on a good path to do that. But it also takes courage, I would say, as well, to change things within the organization. Will you be around with us for some minutes so we can ask you questions? And I'm opening the floor to colleagues if you have some questions for Steve, please go ahead. Any comments, questions?
I'll ask something. Steve, have you found over time that academics have become more engaged with things like the Calibre Awards and that kind of thing compared to when you first started them?
I think the engagement with it started off a bit better than I thought it would. So I'm judging this in terms of how many people submit for to be considered, but then it stayed pretty constant. It didn't really grow. I was happy with it because I'm perhaps more interested in how many people vote than how many people put themselves forward, because that's the indication of how many people are getting involved in the dialogue. And the number of people that vote, even though, as I said, a few people are voting several times, is still at a good level. And that's how I know that people are aware that we're doing this and are participating. But I know also that for the winners, those who are shortlisted, and particularly those who walk away with the certificates that perhaps cost us maybe as much as £1 or £2 each, that it really means a lot. It genuinely means something to have had that recognition, particularly for the more junior members of the team. So the early career researchers who are kind of trying to build their CV, PhD students, our early career research assistants, lecturers at early stage in their career. It means a lot to them to have, even though it's internal recognition, it means a lot to them to be able to say that they'd have that recognition.
Thank you so much. Our Dean has a question. Please, Milita, go ahead.
Thank you, Steve, for this very nice presentation. I will repeat that this caliber scheme is really inspiring for us. And we could see that there are part of celebrating success and do something about internal communications even without money. But I'm interested in the money part. so I will ask you how you are providing financial resources for example, doctoral college part of Caliber scheme.
Yeah, so it's a massive investment that we make. We provide those resources from our surplus that we are able to generate on our other activities. So we also, though, so the headline figure for what we invest in terms of fee scholarships and stipend allowances is around about £10 million a year. So that's a pretty significant chunk of our budget. In round numbers, a stipend for a PhD student is 15,000 sterling, and the fees for a UK student are £5,000 a year, and the fees for an international student are about £20,000 a year. So it's a pretty significant investment for us, and we fund it out of the surplus that we generate. However, it's often the case that those scholarships that we provide are matched against external funding applications. So if we make a big bid to the Research Council in the UK, maybe for £1 million grant, then it's almost an obligation actually that we'll put some university resource, and PhD students are a very common way of doing it, against that. So one of the things that I monitor is the surplus or otherwise that is associated with the whole PhD program. So each year we're recruiting about 300 to 330 PhD students. They're funded by us by a whole variety of different funding sources, either industry or research councils, and then by self-funders. And I demonstrate that across the whole program, including the scholarships, that the whole program makes a surplus that contributes to the financing of the university. And I, perhaps like yourself, Milica, will have to go to our operations committee once a year and get down on my knees and plead for a budget for the next year. And my case for investment in PhD students in the budget that we have is very much associated with the finances of the whole program. I always want to present the whole program as the package, not the bit that we fund ourselves as an isolated element, because the studentships that we fund ourselves are so much an integrated element of the whole PhD program that we run. And I make that case as hard as I can, that our investment in PhD students generates additional research funding, that even across just the PhD program as a whole generates a surplus for the university. How successful I am? Well, I'm doing okay at the moment, but whether someone else could be more successful than me, I don't know, but I'm doing okay at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and thank you for your answer. Any other comments, ideas, questions? We have colleagues from other institutions besides the Faculty of Sciences as well.
They're speechless.
Speechless, yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, when we see the workload around Caliber and the whole setup, I have to say it takes time to stop and think where to start actually and how to go about it. So I'm sure it didn't just come overnight. Actually, how much did you prepare the whole framework and that prep phase of just sliding into the whole story?
Gosh, that's quite a hard question to answer, because it's kind of hard to identify the point where the thinking started. But I became the chronological history of it is that I became the Pro-Vice Chancellor for Research in October 2014 in an acting capacity when my predecessor left. Then at that time I was already a Pro-Vice Chancellor, so I was doing 2 jobs for a little while. And then I became I was appointed officially to the post in March 2015. So at that point, I had kind of license to start changing things, whereas in the acting role, you have less opportunity to do that. And I think that from March 2015, it was probably the beginning of the academic year 2016-17, so 18 months on from that, that we started to launch the different elements of what is now the Calibre framework. So 6 months of me sort of thinking a bit about stuff on my own, and then 18 months of discussion with so I have a research committee that has all the associate deans on it, and that, you know, that's the critical body for really doing the hard thinking. But, you know, whether I'm with research committee or with the other deans or with the university senate, all of those discussions were going on over that 18-month period.
Yeah, I thought so. Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments?
May I ask something?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction and the talk about the Calibre. It's really interesting, and we really need something like that. But can you please tell us how many people are included in a Calibre besides you and people from the International Relations Office? How many researchers are included in the Calibre program? How many of the staff, research staff, is there with you actively participating in this framework?
So the simple answer to that is everybody. So there are, in terms of researchers, there are at the moment about 850 academic staff at Loughborough who are active in research, about 300 research staff who are supporting projects, about 1,000 actively registered PhD students. So that's the total size of the research community. Of course, some people have projects that are you know, not so directly connected to the priority areas that are identified in Calibre, the beacons and the challenges and so on. That's fine. You know, there's not a kind of, you know, 2 different lanes, or, you know, 2 different kind of approaches to our research. You know, there's not really a sense of you're either in or you're not in, and there's a boundary between the 2. The way I view it is that I'm saying to colleagues, do excellent research, think about how the work that you do can contribute to these institutional priorities, and think about using some of your expertise and some of your time to promote these collective interests that we have. But nobody, you know, you don't get extra points. You don't get promoted more quickly because you do or you don't. You get those rewards because you do excellent work. But what I find is that there is enough natural pull towards the institutional priorities that you know, that with it you don't have to get kind of tough over this. Natural forces do enough to move people towards these broader areas.
This brings me to a question of how do you listen to your research community, and how do you pick up those bottom-up ideas and include them in the Calibre framework?
Yeah, so that actually is a very easy question to answer. I have we have 9 schools at Loughborough, and I said we're 850 academic staff. So roughly every school has about 100 academic staff in it. So that's the size. They vary. Some are small and some are large, but on average gives you an impression of the size. Every school has an associate dean for research, and I work very closely with the associate deans for research, and they are absolutely critical roles. Associate deans for research sit on the senior leadership team of the school, so there'll be a dean, an associate dean for research, associate dean for teaching, and associate dean for enterprise. It's not a radical structure. It's probably very similar to what you have, but those people are absolutely critical, as are the people like Claire. So we have research development managers, and they are involved in supporting the research projects that we submit, and they also have a very important role, not only in supporting the individual projects, but kind of picking up on the mood of the moment and on the new ideas that are coming forward, the types of things people want supporting with. So maybe I should describe it as dialogue. That's how you keep on top of it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Professor Steve? Okay, if not, I again thank you for your time, for your inspiring words, for more insights, and we really hope to see you again on some of the future workshops. It will be a pleasure for us. Thank you for joining us very much.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Have a great day.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks. Not bye-bye. I mean, you can stay until we finish the entire workshop.
I have to leave you, I'm afraid.
Yeah, cool. Colleagues,
Bye-bye.
dear colleagues, any other comments? Bye-bye, Steve. Thank you. Any comments, ideas? Now you can maybe ask questions to our dean, because I'm sorry for speeding up the pace due to Steve's limited availability for this workshop. Alexander, I'm sorry for cherry picking now. Could you share any of the internal processes at your institution, because it's the Faculty of Geography, University of Belgrade. We know pretty much how we do it here, but anything to share from different institution? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, but actually I'm not familiar with new vice dean of science, because I don't know. I'm new in recruitment. I am new member of this faculty. Well, I am new in the last 2 years, and also, but I have some success, but privately. I and my colleagues from the United States and one colleague from Pakistan, we are successful in Elon Musk private project about stopping climate change, and we are past the 2 stage of this project. This is the private project, Elon Musk. This is the one of the richest person who wants to stop climate change in one specific way. And also we passed 2 stages, but we believe the next stage in the next 2 weeks will be crucial. And I suppose and I hope that I can be together with those professors from the United States, the University of Boston and University of Massachusetts and University of Wyoming, State University of Wyoming, and I think the Islamabad, Pakistan State University. But this is my private I want to say private initiative. But also I believe that the main problem for my faculty is the not enough connection with your faculty, because your faculty is really good in science, one of the best in region. I want to say this because I am honest and I am man who love science, and I want to share my experience with everybody abroad, and especially at national scale. And I cooperate enough with Professor Tin Lukic and also Vujacic and Biljana Basarin and you are really great. And I think that the geography in Serbia is the best in Novi Sad now, especially when we talk about science, about projects and about applicational projects. But this is the main problem, because I suppose this is my opinion. Sorry if I want to say something that somebody don't like to hurt. This is the not enough connection between our institution, who has geography studies or geography courses, because, you know, we have university faculty Kosovska Mitrovica. This is the part of Serbia, not Albanian language, Serbian language, and also I think Department of Geography in Niš, and also in Belgrade and Novi Sad. And this is the question to the Milica Pavko Hrvović, the Mrs. Dean, excellent Dean, that, for example, in the future can connect all geography and on the same place in Novi Sad, and we can discuss something about better cooperation and about participation projects. I heard the professor who lived this workshop. He said that something about jealousy. I think this is the wrong word, because if we are scientists, the jealousy is the very unusual for scientists and stupid word. Sorry. And if we want to cooperate together, especially because we belong to a very small country, we must cooperate more.
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much for your opinion. It's absolutely true. Every word you say, we tend to connect externally rather than internally, which can be changed if there's a will, there's a way, as everybody agrees, I guess.
Yes,
thank you so much, and I just want to say good luck with your Mr. Musk project. Just come back from space. If ever you go with him, come back.
Yes, thank you, thank you so much, because this is, I learned many things from Mrs. Biljana Bastar and Tin Lukic about climate change in this project, and this is what this was very helpful to me to connect on this area of science to abroad scientists. And also I want to say that I believe in new recruitment in my faculty, in my new dean, and I believe that my new dean can connect with your dean, and we can do together many things in future. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm sure you know how open we are to building bridges and connections, and we'll definitely continue doing that in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure to talk to you. If there are no questions, comments, go ahead. We still have time. We're not. There's a comment from the. Just go ahead, please.
Yes. A few days ago, actually, Miroslav prepared some presentation for the cost action, and he showed me his slide, and he told me, before you go out and do the networking, look at it at your own backyard. So try to find the people who you can work with in your own house. So this is the first step. And we are actually happy that we did that first step, and we have a nice response from the people we reached out. So I'm really happy that we have actually Professor Milica asked me to contact Zorica Podraščanin. She's a professor at the physics department, and this is a great opportunity to collaborate and work on similar issues together. And this is actually, I think this has to be our starting point. First, internal communication, and find people who are you compatible with as far as the research is concerned, and then reach out if you do not have any other who can help you in your own house, and then make the networks and build the project and write papers. So I think the crucial part for the UNSPMF at the moment is internal communication and finding, for example, if we want to be very attractive in the European Union and want to write attractive proposals or papers, we have to think outside the box and outside of our own discipline. So geography cannot go alone. It has to be complemented with physics, mathematics, biology, and develop some different view on the same thing. So this can be our starting point. And when we write the strategy for the International Relations Office and upscaling and upgrading our capacities, I think that we should really emphasize this point.
Thank you so much. With such nice words, you just wrapped it up, I guess, and you said all the right things, and we can all agree with you. Thank you so much, Biljana. We broke our timing for today, and this brings me to once more saying thank you to our dear speakers. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Milica. And please stay tuned for tomorrow's continuation. Same time, same link, same place, I guess. New topics, more engaging, and new things on the horizon to learn for us and apply later on. Thank you so much again, and I really look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Okay, have a great day, all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Claire. Thanks.